but the button's been pressed.
Hey guys.
Oh boy, looks like we're live, probably. The button says we're live. I'm going to assume that we're live. It does tend to take a few seconds for the stream to kick in, so who knows? Yeah, it looks like we are.
Yeah, we are. Whoops.
Boy, looks like we're live.
There we are. We definitely live.
So professional, Jeremy. God damn it. So yeah, episode 42 of Cask Strength.
Oh, did we miss the chance of making this our Douglas Adams stream?
I mean, I got a towel around here somewhere. I'm sure I always have one.
I know where mine is. But I mean, it is a no age statement or age statement debate.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. And I am contractually obligated to argue for age statements, I believe. That was the agreed upon.
This is correct. Yep, you are age statements. And Dan is no age statement. So let me just fill some backlighting in here because I'm so professional today.
Sure.
Professional every day. What we will do is we will do this in a semi-debate fashion, and people in the chat can definitely join in. So we should probably say, hey to Graham Thurston, tick, tick, tick. Yep, we've all got ticks. But we were totally on time in Japan.
We were reasonably close to on time.
Greg's here, Mike's here, Drams and Drips. That's not one I've seen before.
No, that is Bobby. He is local to me. Member of one of our smaller local Facebook pages and a big-time bourbon and rye guy.
And a crazy person who thinks the new Lot 40 non-age statement blows. I mean, yeah, totally. No, age statements are great.
Bobby is not a fan of the new Lot 40 non-age statement, but we will get into that a little more.
Yep.
I'm sure
and Jeffrey, as the challenge master, no, all the whiskey belongs to me. I mean, it all costs like it all belongs to me. All right, so I think what was the format? We were going to have 3 whiskeys from each party to show why an age statement or a no age statement is the best thing in the world. So let's start with Dan. What is your first whiskey to show that no age statement is the best whiskey?
Okay, so first a quick brief explanation for those of us that or those of you that are watching at home that might not even know what an age statement is.
It's so professional. He's doing the shit that we wouldn't do.
It's really simple. If the age of the whiskey is listed on the bottle somewhere, then that has an age statement. If it does not, then it does not have an age statement.
So a prime example would be it's empty, those who are following the challenges. Ardbeg 10 is an age statement because there is definitely not 10 Ardbegs in here. It's just one Ardbeg that happens to be 10 years old. And Grant's, which is a blended, there is no age statement. And I mean, the first point's going to go to Brad just based on the random shit I pulled off my desk.
Right. Of those two, I'm going to have to say, the age statement one is going to win.
Right.
Okay, so my first Exhibit A, if you will, is this wonderful dram. This is Writer's Tears Cognac Cask Finish.
Ooh, nice. Boo.
Yeah. So this is a wonderful Irish whiskey that has no age statement on here. And as far as Irish whiskeys go, it is pretty high up there. It is delicious. I'm not going to mention any age-stated Irish whiskeys that I've had because that's irrelevant right now. But
sure.
There may be a 32-year-old Cask of Dreams that I do enjoy much better than this, but
wasn't Winona Ryder in one of those vampire films like 32? Because that's a Cask of Dreams right there for me. No, that's Casket of Dreams. All right,
so,
Brad.
something to me, that's more important than seeing an age on a bottle, is seeing what cask that whiskey was aged and or finished in. Something I look for a lot. I also look for something that's important to me is the ABV. Generally speaking, as all of you know, my thoughts on a 40%. There are lots of whiskeys that are fantastic at 40%, but generally speaking, for a lot of other whiskeys, it does mean that they've water corrected that down to the bare legal minimum and potentially might not be as much love in it as something that was bottled at cask strength or something a little higher than 40, showing that maybe they're putting flavor before profit. This spectacular dram, as you may have guessed, is finished.
Hang on a second, Graham. Is it the Riders Tears you have next to you, or do you have Winona Ryder next to you, or do you have a bottle of 32 Dream Cask next to you? We need to know for science.
I'll be there in a half hour.
If there's 2 bottles of 32 Dream Cask down in that neighborhood, I'm heading.
I could be there in like 35 minutes. Let's see it.
So,
Riders Tears. There we go.
That's good too.
Yeah.
When I do get into this, it's immediately apparent that age clearly does not matter, or at least knowing what the age is. That's the tricky thing about no age statements. It could very well be 30 years old. Very unlikely, but possible. They're just not telling us what it is.
Yep.
So I would love to see a retort from my colleague.
Your colleague. I think I'm going to have to start.
Roundabout way he's our boss, Dan.
That's worse. I don't like that at all. I quit. Goodbye. No. I'm going to have to start, I guess, with one of the older whiskeys that I happen to have with me. And I'm pretty sure Dan also has this, the Wiser's 35 Canadian whiskey. Probably the oldest Canadian whiskey that I've ever had. One of the oldest that I've had in general.
I've had the 40-year-old Canadian Club, but it is not as enjoyable as the 35. That's for sure. I mean, all age stated whiskey is bad.
Sure. I don't know. There's something about like the smoothness that can come with age and things like that. Well, technically, that's not to do with an age statement necessarily, because you could have old whiskey that's not an age statement. But it's just smooth and nice. This one is just light. It's just easy to drink. It's good. I don't know. And for the Wiser's 35, it's amazingly affordable for a 35-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, I have to say that's probably the least expensive dollar per year whiskey in the world that I'm aware of. I don't think you can buy an older or even the same age for the same price or cheaper.
It definitely is, Mike. Absolutely. Positively, older is always better.
I enjoy it more than the 18. I wouldn't go so far. Oh my
Josh.
God.
Senor Goladay. Yo, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Yeah.
Cheers, buddy. Appreciate that.
I wonder if he took that out of his severance package that he got after he bailed on this.
Wait, is that
penny?
Money
he saved
separate
a penny
money
for himself out of that $10 severance package? Josh, that super chat definitely earns you a big time shout out. For those of you that like American whiskey and specifically Texas whiskey, or even if you don't and want to learn some more about it, check out Texas Whiskey Life.
Yep. And Josh, I should catch up with you at some point, because I had a shipment of some birthday stuff come, and in there was some Balcones. So may have to do a cask strength live as someone has their first Texas whiskey.
That would be a good call.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that plan a lot.
Ridiculously easy content is easy content, right?
Yeah. Unlike today's topic, which we definitely thoroughly researched
Definitely.
and are treating in a very professional and objective manner.
Yeah,
Before
definitely
we go-
all of those things.
Before we go any further, I'd like to ask those of you watching at home, throw up on the chat, what is your opinion of age statements? Does it matter to you? If it does matter to you, do you prefer
And we're talking
do you feel that it's older the better, or what?
Yeah, and we're talking in the context of whiskey, guys. Try and keep it clean. Actually, no, you just go for gold. Who are we kidding?
Try to keep it legal. I don't care if it's clean.
Yeah, there we go.
Keep it legal.
Yeah, this is really, really nice. So in addition to not having an age statement, this is a really, really tasty whiskey, and it was a limited release, but it should be fairly available here and there. If you guys haven't had this and you enjoy Irish, you probably will enjoy this. It is the second best Writer's Tears I've had. Not surprising that my favorite is the cask strength.
Yep.
Sure.
There are some great comments in here, actually. Most people are no, it doesn't matter. Pardon me, no, it doesn't matter. Drams and drips is sort of a bit of a bracket there, 8 to 12 years, 54 to 62 ABV, which taps on what Dan was saying, that ABV can be a bigger influence to that. And I must admit, I kind of agree. If it's at 40%, you kind of get that feeling that it's a Toyota Camry of whiskeys. It's just pumped out to do a job.
Sure.
You know,
It doesn't mean that it does exactly.
It'll do the job. It's just it may not be as interesting as some other things, and it generally has a broader appeal at that ABV as well because it is so approachable, much like a Toyota Camry.
Sure.
All right, so the Wiser's 35. How old is that, by the way, Brad?
Let me just double check my notes here.
Yeah.
Gonna go 35 years old. Yeah.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Now, on that as well, guys, like as Dan was sort of saying, you don't know what goes in there. With an age statement, it's kind of the same. The number that is on the bottle only relates to the youngest whiskey that goes into that bottle. So, in theory, you could potentially have a Wiser's 33, to use the example, that is nothing but 100-year-old whiskey with a couple of drops of 35-year-old whiskey in there. And because that's the youngest whiskey that's gone in, they have to label it at the youngest age. So basically, no age statement is just telling you the minimum amount that's a percentage of whiskey is this amount. So
like Compass Box had their 3-year deluxe, just like a couple of teaspoons of 3-year-old whiskey, and then a whole bunch of like between like 12 and 5-year-old whiskeys or something. It's a blend of all kinds of things, but like
I love that they did that.
Aged stuff, and just a little bit of 3-year-old, and like, oh well, it's a 3-year-old whiskey now, so that's what's going to be on the label.
It really was kind of a little bit of a beautiful middle finger to those that have just caught up with the numbers game. All right,
because it matters, Jeremy. That's what that's the point. Yeah, because age matters.
Well, Dan went first last time, so you get to do your middle part of your debate now, Brad.
My middle part. Okay, so I'll get a clean glass.
There you go. Stag Junior, supposedly 6 to 8 years.
So my next one is going to be the Talisker 1985, which is 27-year-old Talisker.
Oh, it is so.
No, that can't be right. I was born in 82, and I'm 38 next month, so it can't be 26 years old, Brad.
It's 27 years old. Yes, the math checks out. Though technically, now that I think about it, 1985 is just the name, and there's not actually a year on here, which makes it a non-age statement whiskey, which is sort of unfortunate for my argument's sake, I suppose. But it is 27 years old. So, you know, it's
and that brings up another point of discussion there. Where are they disclosing this? Simply knowing the age of a whiskey doesn't necessarily mean that it is age stated.
That is factual.
they may disclose it, maybe on a website or perhaps maybe in a workshop. I know that we've had some information told to us by a rep of a distillery, and they disclosed some age of some bottles that otherwise have no age statement. So simply knowing the age doesn't necessarily mean that it is an age-stated whiskey. Drams and Drips, there, Bobby mentioned earlier that Stag Junior is supposedly 6 to 8 years, and I mentioned that it's still non-age statement. I can't see anywhere on that bottle anything that would indicate anything towards an age. So
now, there's a lot. I mean, most distilleries are at least reasonably clear about the sorts of things that are going into their non-age statement whiskeys. There's not a lot that are just completely unknown. It could be 6 months, it could be 60 years. Who knows? It's usually like it's going to be casks within like this couple of age range.
And that brings us, I guess, to another thing: is when a whiskey has a year, it's one of three things. That year is either a brand, so like 1772 or whatever that bourbon is.
1792, yeah.
1792, yeah. So that is a brand, and that is basically them chasing a flavor profile. Sometimes, that 1985, for example, may relate to the year that it was distilled. Doesn't necessarily relate to the year that it was barreled or the year that it was bottled.
Right. They could be the same thing and be like a 3-year-old Talisker that was bottled in '88. Like there's no legal requirement there.
Yeah. So that just doesn't tell you anything. So if it just has the year plastered on it, there is a lot of other context to go with that. Is it a flavor profile they're chasing? Is it a distill date? Is it a bottle date? And then you still are left with it's not really an age statement because it's not telling you that rest of that information. You need to go hunt for it.
Exactly.
So Dan, what's your middle pack?
My next pick is E.H. Taylor Straight Rye.
Hang on a second, Patty.
Not
I'm sorry, man. I know. There we go.
There you go.
Taylor Straight Rye.
Hang on a second.
Am I echoing?
Oh yeah, I was doing it on purpose. Patty was saying we were professional.
Oh,
it was fixing the professionalism.
Sorry, we can't. And I don't know why I just opened this because I already have one poured and breathing. So no age statement on this rye. And it is a very, very good rye, in my opinion. In fact, quite a few of my favorite ryes are non-age statement, and a few of them are, but not enough to really lean the argument towards my colleague.
We'll see. We'll get there.
This is one of my favorites. Tricky to get for us up here in Canada. It does come out on Lotto now and then. You can find it on secondary. But because of its scarcity, I tend to hold on to it a little bit longer than other stuff. But
and those who don't know, Dan's a raving alcoholic, so he actually just goes through a bottle a week.
Yeah.
Seems right.
I don't think I could if you paid me. Having said that, if you put me in a room with a few people I'm not going to mention, I tend to put some more whiskey away than I normally would. But
feeling fairly attacked right now.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I hang out with Brad online often, and it's not like stuff disappears from here.
Yeah, how full is that bottle of Grants you got over there, Drew?
So
it's very, very enjoyable. I don't even think I was mixing it towards the end.
No, I don't think you were.
No. So you're gonna have to double. You're gonna have to double up now, Dan. So you're gonna have to knock that one back, Vito style, on White Walker, just down the hatch.
Oh, sheesh.
Oh, wonderful. I don't know how old it is, and I don't care. So I'm bringing my next one up here. Was that what's going on?
Yep.
Do it.
What have I got? Oh, yes.
I'm supposed to have 6 just to make him drink more now.
It's fine.
Yeah, you'll never
This is my next non-age stated whiskey.
Hang on, no, that's got a number.
That's 105 years old, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's 105.
So Glenfarclas 105. It is a doozy of a sherry bomb. It's bottled at 60%, which is fantastic. Wonderful sherry notes, strong sherry notes. It's actually the first glass I've had covered up with a coin for a while, and I've never got the nose that I'm getting right now off it, which is fantastic. Well, just sweet floral notes.
It is pretty tasty, as one would expect from a 105-year-old whiskey.
Yeah, this has really had some time to mellow out after a century.
Imagine the wood. Imagine how much would that would just... it would
my
just be
God.
chewing on a piece
Yeah.
of wood, basically.
Yeah.
Could you imagine 105-year-old Texas? It'd just be a stave. You'd just be slicing off.
It would, it would be a physical object that you would have to chew to extract the whiskey.
Getting a bit
It would just
of
be
like
a chunk of wood.
little bit of raisin that I've actually never got from this before, and as you can see, the bottle has had lots of time to oxidize, and this is actually quite nice, proving once more that age statements.
I don't know what you're talking about. Doesn't prove a damn thing. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So what is your finale there, Brad?
My finale is going to be something that definitely has an age statement.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite Islay whiskeys of all time. Very well known Octomore 8.1.
So that's 8 years and 2 months. Is that?
It is. It's 5 years old.
Oh.
It's many months old.
Yep.
And it is on the bottle that it is 5 years old somewhere. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it is 8 years. You were right. This one's the 8-year one.
That's 8.2. It's 8 years and 2 months.
That's
right?
that's not always the case. No. Weirdly, no.
Oh,
yeah,
it's the American style, 8 months and two.
Yeah, so it's 8 years old.
Yep.
And it's just wonderful. And the bottle even is amazing. You don't get this kind of bottle in a non-age statement. Come on.
You know what kind of bottle you do get in a non-age statement?
How dare you? How dare you, Daniel?
Oh, my silly camera just will not.
I actually have the other one of that handy too.
Oh.
Let's just not talk about that. This 8-year-old Isla is just...
I think...
Oh, it's amazing.
Compass Box is a pretty good example for fantastic non-age statement whiskeys.
But they do age statements.
They cheat by knowing what they're doing and blending amazingly well. It's cheating.
That is cheating a little bit, I suppose.
Greg, no, it's not Pappy because it's supposed to be good, delicious whiskey.
Yes, and Mike, yes, he's totally going to give them all to me.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Come here. Everyone who comes here can have as much as they want. I got basically a whole shelf full of Compass Box, but
What's that?
it stays here.
Oh, we've got a special guest, ladies and gentlemen.
We've got a floof.
What's
the age statement on that floof?
He's a 9-year-old flute.
There you go. See?
A 9-year-old baby fox. Tones of ginger. And sometimes a little bit of dog breath on the palate. You don't care two shits. You just want to go bark at the postman.
Jason Busey is asking about the Compass Box blends being age statement. They have a couple of age statement ones, but mostly they're specifically to mess with people, like the 3-year deluxe. Most of them don't have age statements. They're the blend that they are, and they're very open about what is in those blends, often down to the specific percentages. But typically, they don't have age statements.
Yeah. And as far as blends themselves go as a whole, I've only seen very few that have age statements. I have a 29-year-old blended Scotch here. It's fantastic, but most, I'm not sure I have another blend in here that is age stated.
I think I have a couple. Like the Scallywag has age statement versions. I have the 13, and I know there's a couple of different ages.
Yeah.
And that's a blend, but like there's definitely not a ton of blends with age statements, which I guess would make sense because if you're blending a bunch of stuff, there's very likely going to be some young thing in that blend, even if it's just a little bit. And then they would have to give the smallest age regardless of what is in it, which is the point of the 3-year deluxe, right? From Compass Box, just sort of making fun of how it doesn't really indicate the age of the whiskey if it's like a tiny percentage is the young bit.
Big time. Jason, so Jason, the by law, you have to state the youngest whiskey that is in there. And the whiskey that Brad was just talking about by Compass Box, called the 3-year-old Deluxe, has many whiskeys over 25 years old. I believe there's one that's over 30 years old in there. I think I could be wrong, but they're very old whiskeys, and there is a very, very, very small amount of 3-year-old. So this whiskey they released as kind of a shot at the big wigs who like to make the laws and stuff. So it's called the 3-year-old Deluxe, but the greater majority of that whiskey is quite old, in fact.
Yeah, it's got 0.4% 3-year-old whiskey, and the rest are far older than that.
Far
Mike,
older.
just so you know, the postman is dead. I just had to bury him in the backyard. The baby fox is a trained killer.
Fact.
It's not surprising. That makes sense. That tracks.
Yep.
All small dogs in Australia are roughly 10 times deadlier than all large dogs anywhere else.
Sure, it's like scorpion sized. You know, the smaller the scorpion, the more dangerous they are typically.
In a place where everything tries to kill you, if you're little, you got to be tough.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Yes, Graham is right. It was a shot at the Scotch Malt Whisky Association.
Yeah.
It was one of these to them. Sorry.
Yeah. And
a very successful one, in my opinion.
Very successful. They've done a great job, actually, from the get-go at kind of sticking it to the man. And it's backed up by fantastic whiskey.
I was going to say they backed it up well.
Big time.
It could have been a dangerous thing, and it could have potentially misfired because being a smartass is a fine line to toe, and they did it brilliantly.
Right. Would you have to market your fairly old whiskey as a 3-year-old whiskey for legal reasons?
Yep.
That could be tricky, but they managed to pull it off and tell the story about why they did it.
But you know, I think
well.
Much like this totally well researched and not off the cuff episode of Cast Strength has highlighted, age statement is but a number, and there are so many other factors that you need to consider when you're looking at an age statement, or a non-age statement for that. Get you thinking more about your dram.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of factors in whether a whiskey is going to be good or not, or enjoyable for you or not, even because it's all subjective, right?
And Jason,
age is one of those things, but it's certainly not necessarily the largest factor in some cases. It's a very important factor, though, and I don't know. It's all super intense and important, and age matters a lot.
Let's face it. What is the best whiskey, hands down, that you have had in the last 2 years, Brad? Was it something that had a 3 and a 2 in it?
Yeah, it was for me.
That would be one of them. It would be top 2. The other one being also a fairly old whiskey, but a non-age statement.
So
is that the 1815?
Yeah, which is 33-year-old Ardbeg,
Wow.
but it's not age statement. It's not on the bottle. Like, they're clear about when it was made and everything, but it's not actually an age statement whiskey.
I believe that bottle's dangerous. That leads to romance, that bottle.
It does.
It does.
It's led to at least one marriage that I know of.
I can definitely say that. I mean, yeah, I'd say my favorite whiskey, the nicest whiskey I've ever had, was the 32-year-old Green Cask.
Oh, it's definitely up there for sure.
I don't know. I've never had any of it. Brad wouldn't share just because I didn't rock up to his
Brad
house.
never shares. I got
Right,
mine
no.
from somebody else in Canada that had a bottle that's really generous.
Told you, get to this continent. I will work it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
you gotta meet me at least partway here.
yeah. No. Yeah. And on that note, I think part of the experience, and there was hype behind it and everything, and everyone knows, and everyone was talking about it and this and that. But beyond that, it was just the experience of having yourself share it with me was, I think added a big boost to the enjoyment of that dram. But just as it is, it's just a spectacular dram.
It is magical. Age does certain things
For sure.
that can be very important in making a whiskey delicious, depending on.
No way.
Oh yeah, way. Like that's how bad his argument was. There he is.
Well, I'm back.
But I think almost, Texas whiskey has also shown how age statement doesn't always relate.
Right.
Because at the end, and even Mizunara Oak, I think highlights it a bit as well. Like in the reverse order, like you want a 12-year-old Mizunara Oak aged whiskey. Good luck. Apparently, it's disgusting. You want a 30-year-old Mizunara Oak, fan flipping tastic.
Right.
On the reverse side of things, it seems that 2 to 3 to 6-year-old Texas whiskey, fantastic. I'm going to hedge a bet and say a 12-year-old Texas whiskey, unless they're really looking at super large, like full sherry butts and stuff like that, is not going to be a great whiskey. It's going to be
a little long.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see in a couple of years because
We will.
there's gonna be some popping up. I mean, they just hit the 10-year mark, right? Not long ago. So
Lots of Texas whiskey getting love right now in the chat. Greg T. Stagg, best whiskey is Iron Root Icor.
That's a good one.
We are fairly partial to Iron Root around here.
Yeah, those gingers do good work.
Scoring some great points there.
Actually, and there's much love from Iron Root for us. So it's almost like they're an unofficial sponsor. Let's just call them that.
Sure. Yeah.
You're the producer.
Sponsor.
And Jason Busey, I'm pretty sure it's Busey or Busey. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Busey. Texas whiskey is such a beautiful thing right now. Indeed, it is. Balcones French Oak is probably my favorite dram of all time right now.
That's a good one.
I haven't had the French Oak. Up here in Ontario, Balcones only makes an appearance when our friends go down and bring it back. And Bob, you do need to try some Iron Root. Iron Root it's really an absolute must try. All Texas whiskey. Balcones is fantastic. I've had a couple of their releases, but the 2 Iron Root releases I've had have been absolutely just stellar. Super complex, lots of character, lots of punch in there. Everything I look for in a nice American. And Bobby, you do need to try some. And when I do get some brought up in the fall, I promise you will get some, and it will probably be some sort of nifty barrel pick too. So,
and for those who are unaware and can get it from Master of Malt, Texas Ligation is what you'd be looking for. If you can get your hands on Texas Ligation, that is Iron Root. So I know Balcones does some Master of Malt stuff, but as of yet, Iron Root is only Texas Ligation. So yeah. get onto that, and there is a great avenue right there.
Good night, Donald. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Night,
Good to see
John.
you. Yeah, so I'm sure all of you realized by now that we really don't care about age statements.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dan. That's very rude. Undermining my entire argument like that.
It's truly something that comes down to just the taste of the whiskey, whether you like it or not. And if everybody blinded whiskey every time they drank one for the first time, I think there would be quite a different view on age statements, possibly even distiller brands and brand loyalty and stuff like that. And that's another.
So, Mike, you've stolen my argument that I was going to actually make about the whole situation, which is brilliant. I was going to say an age statement is like coloring. The only thing it does is alter your perception on the first sip. Once you get past that first sip, it's got to stand on its own legs. So for all of the reasons that people say age statement is good, is basically almost exactly all of the same reasons that people say coloring is good, and all of the counter arguments still stand. At the end of the day, if the product is good, the product is good. If you put if you put two bottles of, say, Ugadol, right? Because Ugadol is not an age statement. If you said, here is a bottle of Ugadol and here is a bottle of Ardbeg aged 14 years in sherry butts, they both are going to be fantastic products, and they're more than likely going to be the same damn thing. Which one means more? It's if you haven't got the established brand behind you and you're trying to educate the consumer, hey, cool, fantastic. And this is, I think, is where Compass Box has done such a fantastic job, because they're making people think and they're educating the consumer at the same time.
Yep.
Whereas so many other people are, quite frankly, being lazy about it. Using Ardbeg again. Pour Ardbeg, pour it next to a Dalmore, and you rapidly see that, you know what? Color means jack shit to flavor. It really, really means zero to flavor.
Yep. As far as flavor goes, it's a moot point. It's all for the presentation.
Yep. It's a sign that something is likely older, but that also doesn't matter. So it just all breaks down to marketing.
And then, if you want a sign of something, is darker, older, then how are Texas 3-year-olds becoming out like, as dark as a light coffee? It's
right.
There is so many other whiskeys out there that will counter any reason to have an age statement. Likewise, there are so many whiskeys out there that counter any reason to color.
The exceptions outnumber the rule, much like many grammar rules in the English language. That there are more exceptions than the rules that you learn about.
And that's not to say, and I'm against coloring, except in one very small example, and that is just product consistency. I've forgotten the name of the brand, Tomatin, sorry. They will color their product. What they are coloring is generally about 40% of the particular lineup that they color, and that is predominantly because they use clear bottles, and there is inconsistencies in the coloring between batches, but the flavor profile is all there. So they all taste the same. It's just some years it could be lighter than other years or other bottlings. And if you've got 3 or 4 distinct shades in a lineup, it's going to cause consumer confusion. So it makes sense to color them so they're a consistent product.
Sure.
Outside of that, picking on Dalmore again, like, that's just bullshit. It doesn't need to be colored that much. Who are they kidding?
And it really, like Macallan will use coloring, Dalmore, and these are very old, very respected distillers, and very highly regarded by many people. Personally, not a fanboy of either. I don't dislike either of them. I've just yet to be really impressed by a whiskey released from either of those distillers that was appropriately priced, if I can say that. Like, I've had a stellar some stellar Dalmore. I've had some stellar Macallan. I could never afford either of them. And the stuff I can afford, most of their core range and regular releases, just don't knock me off my seat too much, and that's fine.
That they are very presentation orientated,
big time,
Yes.
and they've done a great job for that. And
sure.
if you're Macallan, you don't really need to do much. They've done a great job with their marketing, and their brand loyalty is insane. Brand recognition is insane. And you get placed in a couple good movies here and there, and then it spreads out to the uninformed, which again, you can be very well informed. Some of the most experienced whiskey drinkers, tasters really love Macallan. And again, I'm not saying it's a bad product, but when they're at that level, it's kind of like an Apple thing where they could release anything they wanted and people are going to go nuts over it.
Oh, sure.
Yep. And part of that is also just that brand recognition stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, what was it? Rolls-Royce and BMW 7 Series. Like, they were sharing so much of the same parts, so much of the stuff. But there was a reason the Rolls-Royce, while slightly cheaper to produce, was nearly twice the price of the BMW. And that is just because there is an association to wealth there. And there is such a strong brand recognition, and it's a consistent product. If you get in there, you know it may not be the best whiskey there, but you're still getting a good product that's consistent, and it looks good. It's the presentation side of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of what we're kind of beating around the bush on all of this, and I think we're all in the same boat. And somebody did mention it in the chat a lot earlier, and that is we all appreciate that disclosure, and just having that is their color. Any information, the more information you can give, the better. So while age statement doesn't matter and coloring doesn't matter, it's really nice to know as much information as they can give us.
What they're doing doesn't really matter that much as long as we know what they're doing. Exactly.
And I think again, it seems to be a pretty widely accepted opinion. That disclosure is just more important than what they are doing. And telling us about it is a big thing. Hey, Dave, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, Dave's here.
Yeah,
and look, it's Yahoo Serious, Mike, because Paul Hogan didn't pay his taxes.
No. What is Paul?
Dude,
Factual.
Paul Hogan's been in and out of tax court for the last 10 years.
Oh, Nick. Such a great film.
Yes.
I know it brought Australia to the world.
Oh, look, it did, but for crying out loud, guys, it's a prawn. It's not a fucking shrimp.
It's all sea bugs to me.
I need
They're both tasty, though.
Give this a wee rinse.
Paul Hogan is the Dalmore. Yeah, probably.
So what was I going to say? I had was going to quote Shakespeare.
Yep.
And just a brief one that everybody knows. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. And that basically applies great in this discussion, I think. Because
would a whiskey by any other name smell peat?
Smell as peat.
Yeah.
Awesome. But like you could take any whiskey that you enjoy, be it an age statement or a non-age statement, and take that age off of the age statement or throw an age onto the non-age statement, and it's not going to make you enjoy the whiskey any more or less.
Right.
So if everyone agrees with that, then I think it's pretty straightforward that age statements are really good to know and really fantastic, but not really necessary.
And look, in some cases, you're just not going to be able to give an age statement product to product because, especially when you're looking at the blended world, when you're chasing a flavor profile, man, like 1 year you might have to make up that particular flavor profile from everything that's 12 years or older, and then other years you may just have those freak whiskeys which may lower the age to 6 or 4,
and then you've changed your product line, and
yep, the flavor profile is still the same. Like the average consumer is not going to be able to tell the difference between bottle A and bottle B, but trying to educate the people in a meaningful way when there is more important things in life is hard. But then there are other whiskeys, obviously, that have such great brand recognition who seem to be more obstinate and spend more time hiding the information from those who just have a curiosity, and that we just don't abide by. Age statement. Yeah, Jason's correct. Age statement is interesting to know, but I'd rather know the mash bill, the ABV, if it has coloring, and the still type.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Cask for me, ABV and cask type are something that I always look for, but that's on a bottle. If I'm browsing around the store, I'm looking online and what information is there, looking at something I haven't had before. They're not the most important things. It's just something that, as far as a label goes, that I'm drawn to the most.
Yeah.
If that whiskey does happen to be, like 25 years, great. Wow. Like it is certainly impressive, and it does give you some, okay, it's 25-year whiskey. But again, the whiskey right beside it could be 90% 30-year-old and 10% 3-year-old, and because of that, it'd be called a 3-year-old, and it's I don't know. It's one of the reasons I like to blind things the first time I taste them. If
that's
possible.
a good reminder, Patty. Hit the like button. I'll hit the like button now.
Smash that like and subscribe button.
Please,
ding
please
that bell.
hit that like button, subscribe. We really appreciate it, guys.
Ring the bell.
Hate mail should go to arsehole@caskstrengthshow.com.
Yep. Also, fan mail also goes to us.
Fan mail, I guess, if you, whatever, sure.
But like the information that a lot of these guys, a lot of us would seek is more often than not cases of, there's a really nice note in that. I remember this note from this, and we're looking for comparisons and similarities between those whiskeys, and that's how we find out that we may particularly like an Oloroso cask over, a Jimenez cask or something like that. Those little idiosyncrasies. Could you imagine it in a world where they didn't disclose if peat was in a whiskey or not? Like, could you imagine the minefield of finding out, I really like this Lafroig. What's in this that I like? I also like Highland Park. What other whiskies that have these things in common should I be looking for that I like? And if you didn't know that, peat might have been the thing, then you may, go through your life just going, well. And I think that's where the disclosure side of things is really interesting. Absolutely. What if you have a mild complaint? Come on down, Patty. I'll give you my address first.
mild complaints must be delivered in person.
I almost had like an involuntary response of just blurting out Jeremy's address. I held myself back, but it just about I was like, whoa, nope, can't do that. Nope, that's bad.
So my address is Australia.
It'll get there. Just Jeremy, Australia.
Yeah.
It'll get there eventually.
He's on the eastern half of the continent.
Yeah, like 80% of Australia is. All right. So I think we've had a productive show almost.
We've had a pretty
just about productive.
Few new faces. We've actually talked about like informative stuff.
Sure.
Yep.
A lot of opinion, but some neat stuff to learn there. One thing that I didn't ask, and I haven't seen too much of it in the chat, what the hell are you guys drinking at home?
Yeah. Coffee. Oh, wait. You were talking to the crowd.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what you're drinking, Jeremy. Not until you get another challenge video out, so that you have some more whiskey over there.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with some of the thoughts that I was having, which might be some quantity for next month, which conveniently will also contain a dry week, which will do wonders for the challenge, because that's a week off drinking. And I've already had, as I alluded to, already had some birthday whiskey show up. Thank you very much, Mr. Leclerc. So yeah, I at least had a
Wait,
little.
when's your birthday?
So it's middle of February, mate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So my
DJ
address.
11, haven't seen you in a while.
Hey,
Oh,
yeah,
DJ 11.
Good to see you, man.
a 5-year-old Ben Rick.
And Graham thinks the next one has to revert back to idiocy and scat. Did I miss a stream where like Vito shit live on the internet? Like scat? What?
Oh, he could have meant like Scatman John, like skibbity up.
Maybe. Okay. Could be.
Okay, so hey, Glenfiddich 15 is actually really, really nice, Graham. And that whole Solera system with the 15 is awesome. And there's another perfect example of kind of the opposite of what we've been saying as an example. But this 15-year-old is the youngest in there, and there's some whiskey that's obviously by now much older. But again, due to the rules, they've got to call it the 15.
Mm-hmm.
Dave is mentioning that Stranger and Stranger is 1%, 1.5-year-old Girvan Great Spirit, and 99% 18 to 22-year-old whiskey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
actually,
this whole premise is broken down, so I'm just pouring some Flaming Heart now.
so this should be okay. So this is totally off. So anyone who's watching, don't listen to what we're going to talk about, and then we'll ask your opinion on it. So Brad, in September, you know how we're going on an adventure.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jeremy, but go on.
You know, you and me, we're holding hands and crossing America.
Sure, that sounds physically intensive. I don't. You
Holding
let's go with that. Yeah.
The kicker is that you're holding both hands.
Complicated.
Yeah, that way we get to look at each other's eyes.
It's true. There you go.
Do you think at some point along the journey we do some weird and wacky random cask strength get together night?
That seems like a very strong possibility.
Do you think people would actually enjoy coming to that sort of shit?
That's debatable, but I think it'll still happen regardless.
Okay, cool. Cool. No, it was just an idea, like because you know that what's that tiny channel that we sometimes watch? Texas Whiskey Life. I know they're having a get together in September. We're going down. That's them, right? That do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all Texas whiskey stuff. It's got to be them, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So we'll just do something like in Wisconsin or some shit like that. Just random weird place.
Seems possible. Possible.
Mike.
Speaking of, Dave is asking where the new Vito is.
Oh, new Vito's got a girlfriend. It's a lovely woman called Erica. So
Erica Bunahaben.
Yeah, Erica Bunahaben. We don't mess with Erica. She seems really nice, but she also seems like she could stab you quicker than Zapoli. Like,
I don't know, debatable, but it would certainly be painful.
Oh yeah.
I'm not risking it.
Going to contest the stabbing power and stabbing prowess of Zerp. I know better.
I'm certainly not risking either one.
I know better.
It's fine.
I was going to say the scientific discovery of who could kill more, Erica or Zapoli. Like, because they both have different strengths, but they both also like sharp things.
It's true.
Jason said if we come through Oklahoma to hit him up because he has several places to take us for a good dram and some food.
So I was involved in some sort of cultural thing to do with Oklahoma in school, and all I remember is as the wind comes sweeping down the plains, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I've actually, Dave, I one of these days we're gonna have to get you on a stream, sir.
Definitely.
And Dave is right. They would kill us all and then go out for brunch. I could totally see that happening.
Mission complete. Let's go out for breakfast.
Yeah,
Seems right. That seems totally accurate, actually.
Scarily accurate.
I have to be careful what I say because, like, the cult has shown up at my house before, so
They
I have
literally
to.
know where you live.
and I do have the mysterious magical flag over here that I think Patty mentioned earlier. Is quite possible that somebody might just reach in and grab me
It
from.
could have, or just a big hook.
Yeah, in fact, I am going to take a peek just to make sure that I'm in the clear.
Yeah, Dwyer's under the desk, dude. Who are you kidding? She snuck in before.
Yeah, Dave Graham. Dave certainly is an amazing resource, both for knowledge and for actual whiskey. He is a big time helper in my whiskey journey, and along with Brad, the two people that have spoiled me the most by far.
And an inhuman skill to pour whiskey into sample bottles without a funnel.
Oh yeah, also Dave. Yeah, Dave can literally pour from any bottle, the trickiest, gnarliest, like Sexton, whatever kind of gnarly bottle you got. Dave can pour it into a 2 ounce with his bare hands, and I'm using like I got funnel at the ready, and I still spill.
Right.
That's not your whiskey funnel though. That's the funnel that stops you getting beaten by Dwyer over nighttime, isn't it?
Dwyer. Oh, Dave sure used me for my whiskey. Definitely not used, buddy. It's been fantastic. What?
Just an update on original.
Just for your skills, Dave. Not for your whiskey.
Just to watch you pour that whiskey into the
So
sample bottle.
This almost sounds like we should get Dave on for a masterclass of pouring.
We should.
Just the most difficult bottles that one can imagine, and just get him to pour into a 2 ounce glass bottle.
Sure.
Now, update on original Vito. Apparently, family is more important than us. He's,
weird priorities, but all right. Sure.
Yeah. It's okay. That will reflect in his next pay period.
Yep. Performance review is going to be rough for him this quarter. Oh,
yeah. I mean, he's already been replaced by a new Vito. So
yeah,
two of them.
It's going to be harsh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Vito's got so much stuff on the go. In all seriousness, I do. As a lover of Vito, I will stick up for my boy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So much stuff on the go, and he would like nothing more than to be here entertaining you guys.
Although he keeps not going to hangouts. He keeps not hanging out with us because, quote unquote, I'm in bed naked.
He might actually still be trying to digest those burgers from the last.
Oh my god! Oh boy, yeah. But it's nice having our own Thunder from Down Under up in the corner.
Always a good time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even drink on the stream. So for those who don't realize, I from this stream I'm going to go have a shower and then head to work. So it's less that I don't. I can drink at work, not a problem. It's just I don't like driving and drinking. That's no bueno.
Not a good call.
No, it's not.
Also, it's hot as fucking balls. So
a touch.
Yeah. Just a touch warm.
A little bit.
Only 108 freedom heights, whatever the hell that works out to be.
Oh my god!
Hot.
Hey, listen, we're all hot. Celsius here.
Yeah, it's like 35.
It's a little warm.
So she's a bit warm. Yep. So and as humid as anything. DWI spells bad.
It does, Scott.
Oh,
good to see you. And
DUI. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
DUI, DW. It's different everywhere you go.
Yeah.
The idea is very much the same, though.
Yep.
It's a bad idea.
It's not good, and I'm pretty sure it's not good for my insurance either.
No.
So I think we have reached the hour limit. You're 5, 4. 3.
Now on, it's just counting down.
Yeah. 1, 2 copyright strikes.
Yeesh. That would actually getting a copyright strike for an impression would actually be impressive more than anything else. Like that would probably be like a rite of passage for someone who does impressions. Like I got a copyright strike for my impression of
total
so-and-so.
validation on the. So are we?
Yeah, we'll call it.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
So yeah, this has been good. Clearly, as I've argued this entire episode, age statements matter a ton.
They do
And
because in some parts you need to be 18 to drink at a pub. In other parts of the world, you need to be 21. So clearly,
it's true. It's true.
Yep.
Matters a lot.
all right,
Cheers,
well,
everybody.
thanks, guys, we really appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, and we hope you had fun. Until next time.
cheers, everyone. Thank you.
Cheers.